I let it roll like a big wheel in a Georgia cotton field. Honey, hush. I didn't come in this house. Stop all that yakety yak.
This is our 50th. Well, here we are once again on the banks of the sunny Hillsborough River here in Terrace, Florida, which is a suburb of Tampa. And this happens to be fresh water because that's all we would run our old motors in, never in salt. And what we're running today is the Scott Atwater version of our 10 horsepower Firestone. And this is a gold Penn 1953 Scott Atwater 10 horsepower. And as far as Scott Atwaters go, this is one of the pinnacle engines, a milestone. It's about as good as it gets for Scott Atwater, because immediately following this motor, they went to the Bale-O-Matic, which essentially ruined the company. And this engine does not have the Bale-O-Matic. It has the straight leg exhaust tube with one water pump impeller. This particular engine has a new water pump in it, and you can see from the tattletale here behind the motor that we're actually pumping water, which is a good thing. This particular motor has a full gear shift, forward, neutral, and reverse, and is almost identical to the Firestone 10 that we ran in a previous video. This is the more deluxe version. There are a lot of similarities. We've shown the motors side by side. You can see that Scott Atwater went, they were the mother company. They were the manufacturers of the Firestone line in the early years. And this engine has a lot of little features on it that are more deluxe. You can see that the thumb screws have little knurled ends, which is a really nice touch. Probably doesn't make a whole lot of difference, but it was their effort to make this motor superior in features to the motors that they offered through the Firestone line, that Firestone offered. This particular motor, we're having a hard time getting it dialed in, but it does run fairly well and smoothly. The covers have a tendency to rattle, and this one is no exception. Other than that, it's a good running motor, and it's powerful, about what you'd expect from a 10 horsepower. It'll plane our little 12-foot Starcraft off with two heavy guys in it, so a nice motor, an all-around nice motor, and this is one in really nice original condition. It came from New Hampshire, from the lake area, I believe, of New Hampshire. It was never in salt water. A good feature on these motors, because they're very, very hard to work on and take apart when you have a motor that's run in salt water.
How much more do you think Scott Atwater would have been than the Firestone money?
Well, we have to look it up, but I would guess that this motor was probably $50 to $75 more expensive than the similar Firestone version. Also, a thing that hurt Scott Atwater in any of the dealerships, the leading dealerships brands, was the fact that Firestone, Montgomery Wards with their Sea King, and Sears with their Elgins could offer revolving credit, and you could get out on the water for $5 a month down, or let's say $25 down and $5 a month. Whereas if you went to your Scott Atwater dealer, it was $239 or $200, whatever this motor cost, and you either had to get your own bank financing, or the dealership had to do it for you, and it was just another thing that made it much more easy to buy a Firestone over a Scott. So consequently, there are more Firestones than Scotts, at least in our area. Firestone was the #3 seller during these years. It was Evinrude, Johnson, Scott Atwater. They were doing very well. 53 was a good year for outboards in general, and all the major brands went right along with the wave. 56 was the high water year, and by then, Scott Atwater had been through 2 or 3 years of their disastrous bail-o-matics, which, when they realized the problem, they should have ditched it, and they didn't. They made an attempt to try to continually patch the problem rather than fix it. The problem was an inherent design flaw, and also the fact that by the time 56 and 57 rolled around, there were a lot of aluminum fiberglass boats that didn't leak as much as the old wooden ones, so the bail-o-matic feature was not as desirable. This particular engine doesn't have that, so it certainly got that in its favor.
Temple Terrace is doing some construction. Our main center area is being redone so that we'll have more of a town center. And as you can see, this is some of the new construction. You can also see that some of the new construction, with all the rain, kind of collapsed. So I guess they got to fix that. But you can see it's going to be real nice. And that's going to be our monument, kind of telling you that you're in Temple Terrace there. And we're going to have a balustrade there. It kind of looks like Bayshore Boulevard. So we're kind of copying that. Trying to make Temple Terrace quaint and a destination rather than just someplace you drive through to get the Busch Gardens.